Hello, English learners and You Talk Flip fans. I hope you're having a great day. Today's lesson is going to be about articles. In our last lesson, we talked about a definite article, the. In today's lesson, we are going to continue with the indefinite article a or an, and also the zero article, when we need to use no article at all. So before we start talking about the situations where we need to use the indefinite article, first look at the difference between a and an. We use a when the word that follows it begins with a consonant sound. We use an when it's followed by a vowel sound. This makes pronunciation easier. For example, they joined a historical society. Historical starts with H, which is a consonant sound. So it's easier to say a historical society. But the next one is an idiot. Idiot starts with a vowel sound. As you remember, vowel sounds are E, A, I, O, and U. So it's easier to pronounce an idiot. Okay? Because if you say a idiot, there will be a pause, which is undesirable. The next one, an awful mistake. It's an important point to bear in mind here that it is the sound, not the spelling, that decides where an is used. For example, although unique begins with a vowel, the sound at the beginning sounds y. Also, there are a few words that begin with a silent H that are preceded with an. For example, heir, heiress, honest, like an honest person. Honor, it's an honor to talk to you. Hour, I waited here for an hour. Okay, let's look at some more examples. A unique experience. A unicorn. She has a university degree. Okay, in these cases, you can see yeah. Okay, the sound of U is not U, it's yeah. So we prefer to say a university degree. In these three examples, we can see that U produces a y sound rather than an U sound. So that's why we use a instead of an. And also, in the last one, it took me an hour to get home. We say an hour because H is a silent letter. Now let's look at the cases where we need to use a or an as an indefinite article before a noun. First of all, we use indefinite article a or an to show that the person or thing is part of a group. For example, she is an employee in IBM. She is a part of IBM. Okay, she belongs to that group or organization. Next one. Jenny Brown is a pupil at London Road School. She is 1.6 meters tall with short blonde hair. So she is a pupil at a school that everyone knows. So she is a member, or she is a part of that bigger thing. So that's why we say a pupil at London Road School, because we are introducing her as being a part of something bigger. When she left home, she was wearing a blue jacket, a blue and white blouse, dark blue jeans, and blue shoes. We use the indefinite article a before jacket because we are talking about different parts of her clothing. For example, one jacket belongs to her overall style or attire. A blue and white blouse. So a blue and white blouse is another part of her clothing, and so on. But when we are talking about jeans, because it's a plural noun, we need to use no article that I will explain later. The next case where we need to use an indefinite article a or an is where we need to give a definition to a new word. For example, I want to know what octopus means. So I open the dictionary, I find the entry, and I see the definition. An octopus is a sea creature with 8 tentacles. Okay, so also in the same way we can define a car. A car is a vehicle that runs with an engine and can carry passengers. Okay, so is a vehicle that has an engine that carries passengers. Next one, when we are talking about people's profession and jobs. He is an architect. She's a scientist. My grandmother was a teacher. Okay, or my father is a businessman. When we are introducing people's jobs, we need to use an indefinite article before the noun or the job. The next case we need to use an indefinite article is to refer to a person or a thing that you are mentioning for the first time in a context. Let's look at this example carefully. Today, a man was seen driving in a black car. The man was driving the car so dangerously that the police had to stop him right in the road. Okay, now you can see a man is a new subject, and I'm just mentioning that there was a man who was seen driving in a black car. So also the black car is what we are just mentioning for the first time, but in the next sentence we see the same words. Man proceeds there, or car proceeds there as indefinite article, because now it's already been mentioned and introduced to the listener or the reader. So we don't need to use a anymore. So as long as it's a new subject or a new word that we're mentioning, we need to use a. After that, when we are referring to the same things, or when we are using them again in our further sentences, it's correct to use the definite article there. In the next case, we need to use an indefinite article is when you are referring to a person or a thing which you do not want to be specific about them. It's not important to you. You don't want to go into details. Or you cannot be more specific because there is not enough information about it. So now let's look at some examples. The first one, I stopped off at a shop to buy a newspaper. As you can see, I have used indefinite article before the shop and the newspaper because it's not really important to mention the name of the shop or the type of the shop or the name or type of newspaper. What is really important is my stopping at the shop to buy something, okay, to buy newspaper. So the next one, you go past a petrol station on the left and then you'll see our house on the right. I'm just giving you the address. I'm not going to highlight the petrol station, okay? So I say there is a petrol station on the way that you have to pass it. The next one, a man called to see you this afternoon. I don't know the man who called you because I don't have enough information about that guy. Next one, there was a telephone call for you a minute ago. A telephone call. Which telephone call? Maybe I don't have enough information, or maybe I don't want to be specific about it. Next one. Police are searching for a 14-year-old girl. This action of police is the matter of attention, not specifically about that 14-year-old girl. Maybe in the later sentences, I will give some more details about that girl, but in this sentence, I'm just going to highlight the police's action. The next one. Absorbed to a fancy dress shop, Claire bumped into a huge man on the street. You can see that a fancy dress shop was something that could absorb Claire's attention. So she was looking at it and she was walking when she bumped into the huge man. So is it important to say which man, or so he was only the man on the street and that was only a fancy dress shop? But what really matters in this context is that something funny happened as she was walking and staring at a shop and when she couldn't see that someone is coming and she had a kind of bump into that big guy. Now let's look at another situation in which we need to use an indefinite article. When we need to express a quantity as being only one. For example, 100, 1,000, they mean 100 or 1,000. Or look at these examples. I want a needle and a thimble. Not two, okay? Would you like a glass of wine? I'm just offering you a glass of wine. Normally, we don't offer someone 2 glasses of wine at a go. Next one. The guy has bought a skateboard. But there is a point to pay attention to here. You can use number 1 instead of a when you are emphasizing the quantity 1 and not more. Or when you are comparing two numbers. For example, there is only 1 glass of wine left in the bottle. It means it's as much as 1 glass and not more. Or when you are comparing, we've got 3 pairs of roller blades and 1 skateboard. So 3 and 1. There's a kind of comparison between the numbers and quantity of two things. Now let's pay attention to the points that I'm going to make here. We do not use an indefinite article with plural nouns or non-count nouns. Maybe it doesn't need to explain because it's obvious that we say, for example, she was wearing blue shoes. We can't say a blue shoes because it's not one, it's plural. Maybe we can say a pair of shoes when we use pair, but when we just say shoes, it can't be accompanied by a. The next one is she has short blonde hair. Hair is uncountable. We can see a strand of hair, but when we are referring to the person's hair, it's uncountable, so we can't say a hair or a short blonde hair. So be careful not to use an indefinite article before uncountable nouns or plural nouns. Also, we can use drinks in below formats. Have some coffee. You can say some coffee or a cup of coffee when you're referring to the container, a cup of coffee. Or come on in, have tea with us. Without anything, have tea with us. Or have a coffee. It's also correct because here a cup of coffee, a cup is omitted and it means a cup of coffee. Or when I say, for example, have an ice cream, it means a bowl of ice cream or something like that, a unit of it. So in this case, we can say have a coffee. It doesn't mean that coffee is not uncountable. It is. But the container of the coffee is missing and it's omitted in this sentence. Alright, now let's get down to the cases where we need no article, zero article or nil article. First of all, for things in general, we normally use a plural noun without an article. Birds eat worms. We are referring to a general thing, birds. Okay, as I told you in the last lesson, sometimes we can say the bird. If I say the bird, this represents the whole group of birds. So it has the same meaning if I say the bird eats worms. The other one, children need a lot of sleep when I'm talking about children in general. Or if I can say the human child needs a lot of sleep. So this is also a generalization. Cars, people, and schools. Okay, so these kinds of things, when are referred to as a general thing, we need no article. The other one, for uncountable nouns, we use no article. So let's first divide the uncountable nouns in two forms, concrete uncountable nouns, like water, like powders, liquids, gases, grains, beans, I don't know, everything that which is solid or gas. So it's like we can say concrete noun because we can sense them or feel them with one of our five senses. We can see them, we can touch them, we can hear them. So they are objects. I can say water freezes at 0 degrees centigrade. But sometimes we are referring to an abstract nouns. They are also uncountable, like education. We can't say educations or happiness. It's an abstract noun. And all the group of abstract nouns, which is a very, very big part of English words, they are all uncountable. Music, life, death, love, success. We can't use any article before them because they are uncountable nouns. Now let's look at the cases where we have a singular countable noun and we need no article before them. Let's review all these cases one by one. First of all, names of people. Mary, Bill, Joseph, Edmund, so they need no article before them. Places. Jupiter, Russia, Bangkok, Heathrow Airport, Cambridge University, Waterloo Station, places. Streets. Oxford Street, Wall Street. Languages. English, Russian, Spanish. Academic subjects like history, law, physics. They take no article. Of course, sometimes you can say a history lesson because a is related to the lesson, not history, or the physics department. The is related to the department. Days and months. Monday, November. Also for sports and games, we can't use an article. We can't say the football or the chess. We use them with no article, contrary to music instruments. For example, we say the guitar, the piano, the saxophone, but games and sports take no articles. Meals, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they come with no article. You should remember all of them one by one. And now, noun plus number, like platform 3. We don't say the platform 3 or we don't say the room 7. It's a common mistake that a lot of people make, but you should say platform 3 or page 44. We don't say the page 44. So next one, routine places. In bed, at home, to school, to work. Normally we don't say to the work, to the school. No, we don't say like that. So this is also another type of common mistake. We should learn to use the routine places without a definite article. Movement or transport, like on foot, by car, by bus, by air, or by plane. We don't say by the car because I'm not referring to one specific car. And the last but not least, when we have newspaper headlines, notices, and user guides. For example, plane crashes on house. So it's a newspaper headline. We don't say the plane crashes on the house, okay? Because it's an accepted and normal style of headlines to use no articles. Also notices, keep area clean. We don't need to use the area because it's a notice. And you should know in the notices it's better not to use the definite or indefinite article. Or insert battery. It's like a user guide. We don't say insert the batteries. So these two lessons were about articles. In the last lesson, I discussed the definite article the and all the cases and situations where you need to use it. In this lesson, I talked about the indefinite article and zero article, and all cases and situations where you have to be careful about using them or not using them. I hope you enjoyed these two lessons, and I hope you can learn it by repetition. Come back to this video and to the PowerPoint file to see all the cases and see as many examples as possible. Also, to help you with more examples, I have listed some of them here to give you a summary of what we have been through in this lesson, And of course, I'm going to provide you with lots of activities and worksheets in our learning platform so you can have access to lots of practices to master this part of the language. I hope you enjoyed the lessons. See you in our next lesson and have a great time.